Oh, hey, didn't see you there. Yeah, let's go see. Let's go fake news hunting. All right, so let's see. Let's see what we got. Let's pick something. Sure, Donald Trump. Why not? So Trump's resistance led intel agencies to brief him less and less on Russia. Okay, so we've got a claim. So looks. I'm gonna pause that for a sec. Looks like just a normal news article. Sure, right? Could be legitimate. Doesn't really seem to be any bias here. I mean, they love talking about Trump, and they love connecting him to Russia, but we'll get to that in a minute. So I'm going to skip the video for now. I said I'm going to skip the video for now. Okay. President Donald Trump's resistance to intelligence warnings about Russia. All right, editorialization right there. Donald Trump is resistant to intelligence warnings about Russia. And looking at this isn't a reference to some resistance or some kind of evidence here. This is just Donald Trump tagged on CNN. Led his national security team, including those who delivered the daily brief, to brief him verbally less often on Russia-related threats to the U.S. Again, no source. Multiple former Trump officials who briefed Trump were present for the briefings and prepared documents, tell CNN. Again, no sources, anonymous sources. Whenever there's an anonymous source, then there's that brings the credibility down like 10x. Like, if they had someone on the inside, if they're former admin, why aren't they just coming out and saying it? The guy's a public official. It's not like they're under NDAs. As the White House denies Trump was briefed about Russia placing bounties on U.S. soldiers. Okay, we'll get to that. That's our next article. In Afghanistan, which CNN has confirmed was included in the written PDB. I'm not sure what that is. Presidential daily briefing, I guess. This question of what the president knew and when has moved to center stage. Okay, so this one, and it brings Trump's aversion to hearing negative analysis about Russia into renewed focus. Okay, so what they're doing here is they're building a narrative, and they're digging us deeper into the narrative. So look at how this works. As the White House denies Trump was briefed about Russian bounties, so they don't say he wasn't briefed about it. They say the White House denies. So that makes them sound like bad guys. Anytime someone's denying something, you get suspicious, right? Like we all do. So it's not, and CNN doesn't, we'll get to this in a second. I haven't read any of this, by the way. This is my first time reading this article. And then it says, which CNN has confirmed was included in the written daily briefing this spring. So again, we don't see any proof of this. We have to take their word on it. The question of what the president knew and when has moved to center stage. And now they're telling us what question to ask. They're not saying, hey, was it true or false that this thing with the daily briefing and the Russians even happened? They're saying, okay, it's true, believe us, even though we don't have sources. And now we're going to bring you we're going to imagine yourself in this world where this is true. Now we got to ask the president why he did this evil thing. So they've brought us from, with no proof. Again, look, there's no links, there's nothing. And they're asking us to believe that it's true. And then they put the question as if we're asking the question. And it brings Trump's aversion to hearing negative analysis about Russia into renewed focus. Well, I mean, we're not going to get into that right now, but if you go read the affidavits from the people who accused him of being a Russian agent, they all reneged on what they said publicly. So they were clearly lying about something. So anyway, we're talking about fake news, and we're not talking about U.S. politics. So multiple former officials I spoke to for my upcoming book, Madman Theory, Trump Takes on the World. Okay, so this guy shows that he is, bias. He's saying Trump is a madman. Okay, so we know that the reporter is biased, so he doesn't like Trump. We can infer with, I'd say, with good confidence. Let's just check out his book, though. From praising dictators to alienating allies, Trump has made chaos his calling card. Has his strategy caused more problems than it solved? Yeah, okay, so this guy doesn't like Trump. and he's writing an article about Trump that's supposed to be, journalism's supposed to be neutral. It's supposed to report the facts. And so far, we've seen nothing but editorial and all kinds of, and no facts. Paints a picture of a president often unwilling to hear bad news about Russia. Okay, well, I can paint a picture of anything I want to if I write a book with as few sources as this article. According to one former senior intelligence official, the president's briefers had one simple rule: never lead with Russia. So again, anonymous source, chances are that source doesn't exist. Early in his term, Trump's briefers discovered that when his oral briefing included intelligence related to Russia's malign activities against the U.S. Okay, so we're to assume that Russia's had malign activities against the United States, again, without proof. Any kind of quality journalism, you'd be linking something about these malign activities, including evidence of interference in U.S. politics. Trump would often freak out at them, no source, demanding to know why they kept focusing no source. This is, again, anonymous source is not a source. President has created, this is like me saying, trust me. It's like, why? Like, you've shown with your book that you hate the guy, you dislike the guy at the very least. So why should we trust your, objective reporting on the guy? Note the air quotes. President has created an environment. Okay, so they've got a quote, another anonymous quote that says the president dissuades talking about Russia. Says Trump doesn't read his briefings. Like, again, I could keep going all day, but here's the main points: is article without sources. The article makes all these claims, and then it builds on these claims that are false to begin with. So you get the impression that, hey, if you trusted CNN, you'd say, hey, maybe this is true, and then you'd kind of take their claims at face value and you'd move on to the questions, and then you kind of go deeper into the story. And pretty soon, with zero factual evidence, all of a sudden you believe what they're saying. And I'm not saying it's true or not. I'm just saying this is what passes for journalism these days. There's no sources, there's no facts, there's no evidence to back any of this up.